Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for September 2023 Stampin' Class by Mail. I'm Brenda Cardinal of stampintulip.stampinup.net, and I can't wait for you to make your beautiful holiday cards using the Joy to Christmas suite. This is considered a mega suite, meaning there are 2 bundles in the suite, and for our class this month, we'll be focusing on the Christmas Classics bundle. I've teamed up with Gina Wieselman, a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and team member of mine, to offer these monthly classes by mail. This month, it's Gina's turn to show you how to stamp and assemble your cards, and next month it'll be my turn. Be sure to watch to the end of the video for a sneak peek of the cards I've designed for October. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Have fun making your cards, and now here's Gina.
Thanks, Brenda. I'm Gina Wieselman of MySweetPaper.com, and I can't wait to show you how to stamp and assemble your cards using the Joy of Christmas suite in Stampin' Up's September to December 2023 mini catalog. If you ordered a class by mail kit from either Brenda or me, pull out all of those supplies. You'll also need the stamp set, ink pads, and other supply items shown here. If you need any Stampin' Up! Supplies, make sure to use the host code in the video description to qualify for all of our promotions. Click subscribe on this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and reach out to Brenda or me if you need any supplies, would like to learn more about becoming a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, or are interested in hosting an event. Let's get started. Our first card design is our classic greetings card. If you ordered a class by mail kit from either Brenda or me, all these parts and pieces were shipped to you as part of your kit. If you didn't purchase a kit and would like to receive all of the measurements for these cards, go ahead and follow the link in the video description to sign up for one of our email lists and access our exclusive content. We are going to start with our stamping. So I'll bring out my cherry cobbler ink pad and open that up. And the stamping is quite simple on this card. For the outer panel, we'll be stamping this die cut piece, which was cut using the Christmas Classics dies. And we'll just pull out our Season's Greetings stamp. Or of course, if there were any other stamp that you wanted instead, you could for sure do that as well. And I will just center that up and stamp it. Love the photopolymer stamps because I was able to stamp right on that die cut piece with no issues. That's all of our cherry cobbler stamping, so I'll put that ink pad away. And actually that could be all of the stamping on the card at all, but I will just stamp my inner panel and my envelope as well. And so for that, I'm going to bring in my shaded spruce ink pad and the little set of leaves, the holly leaves. And I'm just going to make sure I have my envelope oriented correctly and stamp that on both of them. And of course, again, you could use whatever stamp you liked. With our stamping complete, I'm going to go ahead and put away my shaded spruce ink pad. And we can now go ahead and get started with assembly. So I'm going to bring out my Pebbled Path card base and fold that along the score line. And I'll use my bone folder to get a nice crisp fold there. And then right away, I'm going to just go ahead and add that inner panel that I stamped. With our inside panel secured, I'm going to go ahead and start building up the card front. So I'm going to bring in this strip of Very Vanilla and this strip of the Joy of Christmas Designer Series paper. And I'm going to start by adhering the Very Vanilla. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I will sometimes cut things a little bit long. So I just want to make sure that everything lines up appropriately. And so when we put this on, we're going to aim for centering it. And if you were concerned about being exact, you could use your grid paper or some other measurement tool, but I think eyeballing it is going to work okay. And then I did just quickly check here and it looked about right. I didn't have any trimming to do. So then I'll go ahead and adhere my designer series paper. And once again, I just want to center this up right on that very vanilla. And this one is a little bit too long, so I'll just trim that with my paper snips. And I often do cut when we're going to have a perfect length. I often do cut things just a little bit long because I would rather trim and have no gaps than otherwise. So with that card base coming together, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my stamped greeting and these die cut elements. And these were again cut using the Christmas Classics dies. And I'm going to just use my regular Stampin' Seal to adhere the Very Vanilla onto my shaded spruce die cut piece. So I'll just go ahead and bring that Stampin' Seal in. I'm just gonna do a swath of it across there. Then we'll go ahead and center the stamped greeting up on my die cut piece. Okay. From here, I need to start assembling this, but I also want to be layering on these old olive die cut pieces. And so as I'm doing so, I need to be cautious that I don't stick them out too far off the ends so they stick off my card. So what I'm going to do is just kind of set this here, get them kind of positioned how I like, and see about where that ends up. Okay, and then I'll just go ahead and pick up this one, and I'm just going to slide a little bit of adhesive right over it. And that's not going to be enough to hold it perfectly in place, but once I add more adhesive and get everything tacked down, it should be just fine. So I'll go ahead and do the same over here, just kind of crossing that boundary across the two items. And then I'm going to get the rest of my adhesive on here, and I'm going to definitely use some Stampin' Seal in the center. And I might also use a few glue dots, or you could use your liquid multi-purpose glue as well, just to put on a few extra places for it to really stick well. And I'll use my Stampin' Pierce tool or your take your pick tool to help with placing these glue dots. Okay, with all that adhesive on there, oops, I'm flipping this around. I'm going to go ahead and come back and position this on my card front. And now bringing our stamped envelope back in, there is our first card design. Our second card design is our Deck the Halls card. Here are all the pieces for the card. So go ahead and pull them out from your kit if you ordered one from Brenda or me. If you didn't order a kit and would like the detailed measurements for each of these pieces, follow the link in the video description to sign up for one of our email lists and access all of our exclusive content, including our measurement lists. Once again with this card, we have very simple stamping, and we're going to be using the Pebbled Path ink pad this time. So I'll open that up and I'll pull out this die cut piece, which again was cut using the Christmas Classics dies. And I'll ink up my stamp, and I am aiming to center that on the piece. That's all the stamping we'll see on the outside of the card, but once again, if you would like to stamp the inside panel, feel free. And I think I'll use just this little corner stamp to add just a little decoration. Okay. And of course, if you would like to stamp on your envelope, feel free to do that as well. And I think I will do this just on the 3 corners. I think technically with the stamp from the Postal Service, we probably shouldn't put anything up there. So maybe I'll actually just do it on the bottom too. Then you could write a return address as well. With our stamping complete, we can go ahead and start with our assembly. So I'm going to pull out my Cherry Cobbler cardstock and this Designer Series paper. It's the Joyful Specialty Designer Series paper, and I think it's so pretty. And we're going to adhere that to the center of the Cherry Cobbler. And again, you could measure. I'm just going to eyeball it and hope for the best. And then with any excess, and I have a lot here, I must not have trimmed that to the right size, but you can just go ahead and trim that off with your paper snips. Next, I'll bring out my card base, and I'll just go ahead and fold that along the score line using my bone folder for a nice crisp fold. And then we can add our panel to it right away. And of course, the sheet music is directional, so you will want to make sure you have that oriented appropriately. Okay. And then I'm going to bring out this Old Olive piece, which is just a stunning die cut from the Christmas Classics dies. I'll bring out this stamped piece, and then I'll bring out my Black and Very Vanilla large check ribbon. So key thing here is that this ribbon gets tucked under the greeting panel. So I'm going to want to do that before I adhere to this die cut piece. So for this, I'm going to use 2 mini glue dots. I'm going to put one on just to kind of hold the piece like that. And then I'll use a second to secure the ribbon actually on the back of the greeting panel. And I like it off to the side like that. Okay. Then with that, I'm going to just use my regular Stampin' Seal to adhere. And I'm trying to go over the ribbon a little bit just to give it a little bit more staying power than even just with those glue dots. And then I'll center this on the die cut piece. And your ribbon should feel nice and secure at this point. Then I'll go ahead and just use my regular Stampin' Seal to adhere the die cut to the card front. And, you know, you could certainly add some multi-purpose liquid glue or some mini glue dots to the back of this die cut, but I actually kind of liked how it looked when it was loose and there was some movement. Okay, I think that looks good. Now I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue to add this one little music note. And I want to just show you where that music note came from. These loose holly gems and sequins, they are so pretty. And you have music notes and holly leaves and berries, and there's a ton in there, so really great value as well. And we'll just be using one for this. And I found that what worked for me was just putting down one little tiny dot of glue and then dropping the music note on top of it, and then just kind of letting it be so that it can dry. And the last thing that I'm going to do is trim my ribbon. So I want a just nice angle cut on that. And it looks like my other side was already angled nicely. And bringing back our stamped envelope, there is our second card design. And our third card design is our holly back fold design. Here are the parts and pieces for this card, so go ahead and pull them out of your kit. If you didn't order a class by mail kit, just follow the link in the video description to sign up for either my email list or Brenda's, and we'll share all of the measurements with you. Now, before we start stamping this card, I want to just show you how the back fold works. So it's really cool in that the greeting is adhered to this part of the card, and when you open it up, you have that space to write. So it's just a really fun twist. It actually takes even less cardstock than a standard card base, because it's just a card base with an extra score line and an inch cut off of it. So it's a really simple thing to prep, but just adds a fun twist on a traditional card. So for starters, for our stamping, I'm going to bring out my Cherry Cobbler ink pad, and we are going to stamp Peace on Earth in Cherry Cobbler ink on this circle, which I die cut using the Stylish Shapes dies. And then I'm going to keep my Cherry Cobbler open, but bring out just a little piece of scratch paper and open my Shaded Spruce ink pad as well. And then I'm just going to stamp the holly leaves right around here. And one thing to note, we will be adding the sequins and gem kind of in this vicinity. So I'm going to leave that one a little bit more open as I'm doing this stamping. So I'll just kind of add a little bit on the side there. Okay. And then I'm also going to bring in this panel, which will be on the inside of the card. And I'll add the leaves to that. And I'll add them to my envelope as well. And then there are these really cute little berries in the stamp set as well. So I might just go ahead and add those too. And that's all of our stamping, so we'll go ahead and start with our assembly. So I'm going to bring out my card base here, and I'm going to fold it along the score lines. And so the first one at 4 1/4 inches is going to be what folds this in half. And then the second one is going to fold back. So of course it's going to stay open like this when you're actually looking at the card, but it needs to fold back for that mechanism to open up. So I'll score it and then we'll just lay it back flat. Now this front panel, I have some Shaded Spruce cardstock, and I have a really beautiful piece of Designer Series paper from the Joy of Christmas Designer Series paper pack. And you'll notice this pattern is actually different from this one, and I just thought there were so many great patterns in that pack of paper that I wanted to try it with a couple of different options. So you might get a combination in your kit. But regardless of which pattern you get, we'll mount that Designer Series paper on the Shaded Spruce cardstock. And you might want to play around with the directionality a little bit. This looks right to me with the leaves pointing up from the stems. So then I'll just add this to my Pebbled Path card base. And with that panel on the front, I'll go ahead and bring out this other piece of Designer Series paper. And I'm just going to adhere that to the right section. So that kind of 1 inch area. Okay, while I have my Stampin' Seal out, I'm going to go ahead and add the inner panel. So I'll just center that up on the appropriate section. And then I'm going to adhere my stamped greeting onto the Pebbled Path circle, which again was also cut using the Stylish Shapes dies. So I'm just going to center that up. Okay, now the fun part for assembling our mechanism. Of course, you can choose where you would like this on the card, but the most important thing to remember is that the card needs to open, so we aren't going to apply adhesive all the way on the back. we're just going to put it along the far right side. So I'm just going to kind of position this where I like it, and then make a mental note that it's really just this little section. And I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue for this. You could, of course, use, tear and tape or your Stampin' Seal or whatever you liked. But then once again, I'm just making mental note of where that glue starts, because I want to make sure that that ends up on the part that folds back. So I'll place it on, and I'm gonna just do a check and make sure, and I don't see any glue coming through. So I'm just gonna make sure my greeting is straight, and then apply my pressure on there. Now, this will take a little bit to dry, but we can go ahead and continue our assembly while it sits there to dry. And we're going to be using the loose holly gems and sequins again. This time, 2 of the sequin leaves and 1 of the berry gems. So again, there are different ways that you could adhere this, and different positions for that matter. So I kind of liked how it looked almost connected to the bottom, the tail of the pea. So you could do that, or you could certainly position it anywhere else on this greeting panel if you liked it better. For these sequins, I am actually going to try my mini glue dots, because as you can see, the sequins kind of skitter around a little bit. So I want to just see how this works. I think I used liquid glue in the samples that I was making, and that of course worked just fine, but let's see how this does. Let's see. This is actually about the right size for that gem. It's about perfect, so that works well too. Okay, so bringing back our stamped envelope, there is our final card design. Thanks for participating in this month's class by mail, and here's Brenda with a few more things for you.
Thanks for showing us how to make those beautiful holiday cards, Gina. As I mentioned, next month it's my turn to design and share the cards with you, and I'm excited to show you a sneak peek of the 3 card designs featuring the Merry, Bold, and Bright suite found in Stampin' Up's 2023 September to December mini catalog. The easiest way to take October's class is to order a class kit by mail from either Gina or me. In your kit, you'll receive all the cardstock cut and ready to go, embellishments, and envelopes, and it'll all be shipped right to your house. All you need to do is add a few additional supplies: the stamp set, ink pads, and a few other items shown here. The registration deadline to guarantee your kit is October 5th, 2023. Also be sure to check out the link in the video description for a couple of additional items. First, a link to sign up for one of our email lists to receive the measurements for this month's card designs, and to receive information about our upcoming classes. And second, a link for a special Pinterest board we curated with even more fun ways you might use this month's class supplies. Again, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel so don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment on this video to let us know what your favorite card design was this month. And until next month, happy stamping!